Welcome back to the channel. So today I've got 3 makes for you. You're going to absolutely love these. These are quick and easy. You can make them within 10 minutes. We've got Mother's Day coming up, so perhaps you'd like to make them for that, or maybe just a bit of self-care for yourself. So let's get straight into it. The first one that I'm going to show you is the eye makeup removers, which you can use for that purpose, or you could use them as a face cloth. You can make them any size you want, or you can make them any shape, as you'll see in the video. So let's go over. So first off, we're going to cut out some shapes. I wanted circles and squares, so here I'm using a cup just to create circles, and I'm drawing that on with an erasable pen and then cutting them out. I found the rotary blade quite difficult, so because it's a curve you might want to use scissors. So I'm just cutting lots out because I was a batch making them. There's the circles. I've also made some squares which are just 3 by 3. I think I cut them. So I'm using terry toweling, as you can see here, for one side, and then I am using some organic cotton on the other side. I did do some that were just terry toweling on their own as well. So you just want to put them right sides together, put a pin through to secure them, and you do that for both the square and the round ones. I'm just sewing a line of stitching 1/4 of an inch from the edge and leaving a gap of about 1 inch to turn them round, and that's just the same on both the circle and the square ones. The square ones you just have to pivot the corner, and there we are, there's a finished one. So here's a pile I've done. So it's such a quick and easy make. So now with my square ones, I'm just chopping off the corners, being sure not to go through the stitch line. Chopping off the corners is going to help us when we turn it through, and it'll help you to get a pointy corner. So now I'm just trimming the circles with my pinking shears. If you only have scissors, normal scissors, just use those. It will be absolutely fine. I'm just cutting off the excess, but leaving a little bit extra where it is unsewn so that we can fold it under when we turn it in the right way. So now we're just turning them in the right way and poking all the edges to make sure that it turns into a nice shape. Some of my circles were quite misshapen, but actually it doesn't really matter because I'm only using them to remove makeup. You could also use these to wash your face if you preferred. So now I'm just turning the square ones in the right way, and I'm using a knitting needle just to poke those corners to make sure it is a proper square. This is such a quick make, honestly. I batch made these, and I made all of these in about half an hour. It just doesn't take very long at all. So now I'm just going to press all of the ones I've made just to give them an extra bit of security in their shape. Made that up. Is that a good one? I don't know. But that's what I'm doing. So I'm just folding the unsewn bit in and then pressing it, and that will help the iron to remember. I'm doing the same with the squares as well. There we are ready to top stitch. So here you can see me top stitching my pads down. So I am just sewing 1/4 of an inch again all the way around the outside and leaving no gaps whatsoever. So you're sewing it until you meet your previous sewing. I'm talking in a really weird way there. I hope you know what I mean. And there you can see a little shot of what it looks like. And here I am just doing the round ones in exactly the same way. So now these are sewn, I am just checking them, and then I am snipping any loose threads to tidy them up basically. And these are the ones where I've got cotton on one side and terry toweling on the other. The terry toweling acts as an exfoliation, which is really good on your skin when you are, well, if you're using them for a face wash, it's fantastic. But even if you're just using them to remove your eye makeup, then they're really good for your skin. And they can go in the washing machine as well, which is great. I've put these in the washing machine since filming this, and they come up fine. So there's some that are all completed, but before we move on to the next one, I'm just going to hand sew a couple that are made just with terry toweling. You can see here that I haven't top stitched these ones, and I am just sewing the opening closed with a hand needle, and it didn't take a minute to do, honestly. So there we are all done, and they are ready to either be used or gifted to someone else. So I told you they were quick and easy. I wasn't lying, they really are quick and easy. So let's go straight over to the second make, which is a heat pad. If you or anyone you know has chronic health problems, such as chronic pain, then this can be fantastic. You make them up, you put them in the microwave, and they offer some light relief. So to make this heat pad, we need to create a template. First of all, you can just draw straight onto your fabric, but I wanted to complete a template just to show you what I'm doing here. I took my inspiration as mentioned, so I just used the same measurements that the website used, but you can make these in any shape or any size really. So I've just used a piece of card and sellotaped it together. And now I'm drawing the measurements on that I've used, which is 16 by 5 inches. So now we're just cutting out the fabric. I'm using a velvet or a faux velvet or velveteen you might call it, but I'm cutting this template out twice. I actually ended up cutting it out 6 times because I messed up, but we won't go there. In this scene you can see me just cutting it out twice. Now I'm not creating a lining, but if you wanted to create a lining, just cut 2 more out of a lining fabric and then do what I'm going to do here to the lining, and then you just insert it when it's done inside this. But I'm not using a lining. I wish I had, because the stitching did come away a little bit. We're just going to go with this, but as I say, do create a lining if you need to. So what I've done is I've just put a few pins in, and I am now sewing all the way round and leaving an opening at one short end. So here you can see the one I've sewn, and it's a complete and utter mess, and I've cut out another one and put lots and lots of pins in, because velvet is really silky smooth and it does move around a lot. So I just sewed that up again and then poke the corners out with a needle. Super quick and super easy. Then I took some rice. I just took ones I had in the cupboard. I didn't buy anything special, and I had 2 open packets. I wanted to see if I was just going to use 1 packet, but I've only put 1 packet in, and I've put some lavender essential oil in as well to give it some nice smells. And now I'm just using a little shovel and I am filling up my little pouch. This was quite hard work, and it would have worked a lot better if I had a funnel or something like that, but we did get there in the end, and I did use the other lot of rice. I think I used about 1 kilo in the end. I added the essential oil to that one as well. So as you can see, it's getting full up now, and I'm just putting the last bits in. I just wanted to use all the rice up, and I had a little bit of room left at the end, and that was perfect actually, because you want it to have a little bit of room, because once it's all sewn up you want the rice to be able to move around and mould to your body. And then you just need to sew the end up and you're done. You put it in the microwave for a minute or 2 until it's warm enough. Just make sure you've got no metallic materials within your make and you will be fine. So as mentioned, you probably do want to make a lining. I didn't make a lining and it did come apart a little bit. Perhaps my bad sewing, but that is the case of what happened. Without further ado, let's get over to the third and final make, which is the make that I made just the other week, and that is a sleep mask. I have a sleep disorder, and it just means that my sleep goes round the clock, so I don't go to sleep at the same time every night, and that just means for half of the month I'm awake all night and asleep in the daytime, but the sun was disturbing me, so I decided to make an eye mask as a solution for that, and that's what I'm going to share with you now. So for this make, we are going to create a template. So I've just put a crease in the paper so that I can use the central lines there, and I'm drawing some lines in. I will show you the measurements in a minute. There's some of them there, so you just want to copy the lines that I am drawing. I will fast forward this and then show you it the finished item in a minute. So I'm basically creating a rectangle with a little notch for the nose. And now what I'm going to do is just take a glass so that I can round those corners off. You can use any round thing you want, or you could freehand it if you prefer. And I'm just doing that, as you can see here. So as you can see, I'm just going in and freehanding it now. I have that guide. So now you can see the measurements. So now we're going to fold our template in half and cut it out. And this will just ensure symmetry when we are cutting our fabrics out. I will say the measurements are there. They're the measurements that I've used for my face. If you have a different size face to me, I'm quite a large face, then you may need to do your own measurements. So now I'm laying down the fabric that I'm going to use. This velvet is my outer fabric. I'm laying down some flannel, which will be my lining, because it's going to be super soft. And you might want some interfacing, but I didn't have any, so I'm just using a piece of wool as lining to give it some padding. That is how we're going to sew it up, which is why I've laid the fabrics out in this way. Now I'm going to put my template over it, pin the template down and cut it out. So now I'm removing the template and then just putting the pins back to keep that secure for a minute. Now I need to create the straps. In order to work out how much elastic you need, you want to measure from ear to ear around the back of your head, and that will be the length of your elastic, and that's how long mine was. I think mine was about 8 inches. Now we know that, we can cut our piece of fabric that is going to go over the elastic. So this is going to vary on the size of your elastic. My elastic there is 1 inch wide. I decided to cut a strap out that was 2.5 inches wide. Ended up not being wide enough, as you'll see in a minute. Lengthways, you want it a few inches longer than your elastic, so you get that scrunchy effect. So now I'm just drawing directly onto the fabric the length and the width that I need. So I'm just writing the size down that I use in case that might help you. Here I've got some cord, and this is going to help us to pull it through in a minute. So we're just attaching the cord at one end like that, put a pin in, and then we're going to sew across that just a few stitches at the top. But before we do, we're going to pin the whole thing, because it is velvet and it's super slippery and it will move about under the machine. So we're just sewing across that cord, and then we're going to pivot and we are going to sew down the long end. When you are sewing down that long end, you want to be sure not to sew over your cord. So keep your cord to the left, because you're going to need that to be free with inside. So now we've sewn it, we need to pull the strap in the right way, and this is where the cord is going to help us. So all you want to do is pull it towards the end of the cord that is sewn, gathering it all up at this one end. So now you can see me manipulating it and it is coming down really, really easy. This beats trying to do it with a safety pin or any other method. So now it's all through, we just need to cut that cord off at the end, and we can use that cord again for some other reason. So I had a bit of a problem here, as mentioned earlier. My elastic didn't fit in, so I just got 2 thin elastics that I already owned because I didn't want to buy more, and I just threaded those through. The orange thing here you can see me using is just an elastic threader, and I've put a clip on the end so that it doesn't go all the way through. And I pull my elastic threader out, and then the elastics come out the other end. I've put a clip on the other end as well so that I can sort to scrunch out. It's looking just about right now. So now we're going to add it into our mask, and you just want it about halfway on each short end like I'm doing here, and you want to layer it between the main fabric and your lining fabric. Pin it so it stays secure. And then you want to do the other side, just making sure they are symmetrical so they are at the same place. And then you want to put the long bit in the middle. Pin it all shut, and then you're going to sew all the way around at 1/2 inch, leaving a gap at the top. It can be a little bit fiddly, so just take it out and realign if you need to. And there we are, all sewn. Not the best sewing I've ever done, but I'm just clipping around the curves just to make sure that it can move when we turn it in the right way, and that it will lay flat. I'm also trimming bits where I think there's a bit too much excess. If you've got pinking shears, you could use those. So now we're just going to pull it into the right way. We're almost there. I'm just poking all the corners out to make sure it lays flat. Just manipulate it until it does look how you want it to. And you just want to fold under that opening and put a pin in, because we are going to hand stitch it. You could top stitch the whole thing, but I decided not to. I decided just to hand stitch it. So I'm just using some matching thread here with a needle, and I'm giving it a quick stitch. Not sure what stitch I'm using, but you could just use a ladder stitch, or you could just sew it shut on your sewing machine. It's entirely up to you. But here we are, our face mask is all done, and it looks really good. So I hope you enjoyed those mates and they gave you some inspiration, even if you don't want to actually make them for yourself. But I hope you do. If you do, tag me on Instagram at ohwhatadiy, because I would love to see what you make. If you like this video and you'd like to see more like it, do give me a thumbs up and a subscribe down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.